Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be sharing my top 10 tips on how to pass the IELTS. If you'd like to know more, then keep on watching. So the first tip that I have is take it seriously. Take IELTS seriously, or OET for that matter. This is not just a regular English exam. I remember feeling like English exam, I've done harder exams in my life, how hard can this be? That's the attitude that I had one of the times, and I think this is not a right attitude, just because yes, it's just an English exam, but first of all, the cost of the exam is pretty high. What the exam is leading you to is very important. A lot of times you need this exam because you're either going to university or they need it for some professional registration. So I would really take this exam very seriously. Make sure you have a plan of how you're going to study. You know what they say, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. So make sure you have a study plan of how are you going to approach this exam. The next tip that I have is that research. Make sure you have researched what the exam is about. If you're doing the IELTS, if you're doing the OET, find out how many components are there. As far as I know, there are 4. It's listening, reading, speaking, and writing. So find out how many components are in the exam. Find out in each of these components, what does it involve? How many essays do you have to write? What type of essays are you asked for? If it's listening, what type of accents are you going to listen to? If it's the speaking, what kind of topics are you asked about? Just make sure you know what you're going for. Don't just go for the exam just like that and then you reach there and you find that actually you're just meeting things for the first time in the exam. In one of my exams, I remember being surprised, and it's not a good feeling to know that, to feel like you're going to fail. You know how sometimes you know you're going to fail? You don't want to have that feeling in one of these exams, especially given as they're so expensive. My next tip is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. I cannot stress this enough. Please practice everything. Make sure you practice each of the 4 things. Even if something seems like it's obvious, like just make sure you practice it. You don't want to be going for an exam that you haven't practiced for, especially because if you're like me, this is probably the only type of English exam you've done like this. Even though you are from an English-speaking country like Uganda, it feels a bit irritating and annoying actually. They have to make us do these exams, but just go ahead and practice, know the exam inside out so that you're ready for it. You don't want to do this more than once, because the more you do the exam, I feel like the more your confidence drops, at least for me. Every time I did the exam, I got even more scared. What if I fail? What if I fail? And then it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You end up actually failing the exam, and then you feel even worse, and then you feel like you're wasting money. And so just don't go down that hole. Just practice and make sure you pass so that you can pass the exam once. For the writing exam, my next tip is to actually write. Actually get a pen and a paper and write down. So there are all these sample tests out there, and they give you sample questions, so you can actually find a lot of these free resources both on the official websites and also like on YouTube and elsewhere. So just try and write down. So for me, I remember I didn't even practice writing. I just went, and I found that in the actual exam it was like practicing, but actually it's a real thing, and then you don't have enough time. And then I remember rubbing everything because I'd made a few mistakes, and then I come back, the whole paper was just, please don't do what I did. Practice before the exam. On my last attempt, where I was successful, is where I actually wrote down the essays. So I did most of the essay types. I did my research, found out what essay types were there, and I answered a question from each of these types. So when I went for the exam, it was really easy because I'd gotten used to doing this. So my tip is to practice. Practice as much as you can. Actually speak. So for the speaking section, make sure you actually speak. If you can get someone to help you, if you have a study buddy, that's great. If you don't, like I didn't have a study buddy, record yourself. I used to record myself on my phone and then go back and listen and see if you look comfortable and get used to talking, because it can be really, it's not normal to just talk about a certain topic. They give you just some random topic. I remember they told me to talk about an article of clothing that I liked, and I easily went blank. So it's very important to practice how to talk and talk and talk, and especially to talk for, I believe it's about 2 minutes. So practice speaking so you know that you can talk for the required amount of time. Also related to this is try and be confident. Even if you don't feel confident, at least pretend to be confident. If you pretend to be confident, then you'll probably look confident and the examiner will think, yeah, you know what you're doing, and you're more likely to pass. Listen to a variety of accents. So the IELTS website actually says that they play a recording of a native English speaker, and they don't specify where, but they do say it could be from either British accent, New Zealand, American, Canadian, Australian. So you should try and listen to a variety of sources. For England in particular, I remember in one of my exams, one of the recordings was from the northern part of England, and if you've heard them, that English, it's not something that I was used to personally, and I remember I struggled a bit to figure out what is the person saying. And I remember being very surprised, but later on when I went to read about it, it is indicated on the IELTS website that the accents can come from any of the native English speakers in the world. So just be ready for that, guys, and beware that they can bring you English from anywhere. Just move on if you miss something. So this is to do with the listening. So you know how they play the recording only once, they don't repeat it, and at the same time you're reading through the questions. So my advice is that make sure you've got the questions and try and anticipate, because some of them kind of make sense. You can kind of anticipate what the answer will be, but be on the lookout. You've gone through your question before and then you start listening. So be very, very careful. Once you hear the answer or what you think the answer is, write that down. If you miss it, or if you think you didn't quite get that, then just move on. Just skip, give up on that, mark and move on. Because I remember one of the times that I did the exam, I got caught up in wondering what's that, what was that I've missed, and I ended up even losing more marks because I just lost track. By the time I came to and I realized I need to focus and figure out what point you're at right now, I had actually lost a few other marks. So guys, the main point is, if you miss something on the listening bit, just move on and move on to the next question. My next tip is use all the free resources out there. There's lots of free resources out there. The IELTS website, first of all, has a lot of free resources. There's free practice tests. There are practice tests in all the components. My favorite source was YouTube. There are lots of IELTS channels. My favorite are IELTS Liz, E2, and IELTS Advantage. I'll link them in the description below so you can go check them out. First of all, I would advise to try and get one. Try and get one and stick to it, because I think I got to know all these three because every time I would do an exam, I would be like, let me try someone else. I fail it, I try someone else. But I don't feel like there's anyone better than the other. It's just that get one that you're most comfortable with. You'll find someone who you like to listen to, whose method you understand, and what makes the most sense to you. You get that person and try and be comprehensive. Go through everything they have, follow all their advice, and you should be able to pass. So I didn't actually pay anyone. For me, I didn't actually pay for any resource. I just used the free resources online and I was able to pass with high results. My next tip is one that I wish I had been told earlier, and that is pay for someone to review your writing if you can afford it. If you feel like you can afford it, and if you feel like you really need it, if you're really struggling, especially for the writing, especially for those of us who ended up attempting the exam multiple times because you're stuck on like 6.5 and you need 7, just pay someone to review your work. There are all these English language teachers out there. Go and look at their websites, have a look at their reviews, choose one, get in touch with them. So these people are able to give you practice tests. You answer them, you write down all the questions as you would, and then you submit to them and they give you feedback. So I remember I didn't consider this because I felt like I'm not wasting money. I'm already wasting enough money paying for these exams. But to think that I actually had to do the exam 3 times to get the required grades in writing, it's way more expensive to do that than if I had just used a fraction of that money to pay for an English teacher to review my essays. So guys, if you feel like you're struggling or if you feel like you can afford it, then you should really consider paying for an English teacher to review your writing. And my last tip, guys, is don't give up. Don't give up. If you fail to get the required grades, then don't give up. Just go back. Try and take some time. For me, when I failed to get the results I needed, I just booked a test immediately and went back, but I didn't change anything. I would advise try and look at what you did last time. Try and see why didn't it work and try and get something new. don't just go back and do the same thing the same way you've been doing it, because probably you keep getting the same results. So change up your strategy. If you're using this channel before and following their advice, maybe try another channel. If you are not writing down your answers, write them down and see if you're able to pick up some of the mistakes that you were doing previously. So that's my advice, is that don't give up. And finally, a bonus point is, if you're still not feeling motivated enough, you're still wondering, can I really do it? Or you don't have time to study, or you don't have the energy to study, my final bonus point is just pay for the exam. Pay for the exam, have a date set, you have that date on the calendar. And I find that when I do that, for me, when I paid for the exam and I've got it in my calendar and I know I've got the exam on this date, somehow the motivation comes, because you don't want to be wasting your money. So you can try that. So thanks guys. If you like this video, then please click like. If you have more tips for me or for anyone else who's interested, then please write them in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then please click subscribe. Thank you. Bye guys.